Live. You are live. Welcome. Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka Savage Tech Man. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Ooh, there we are. Hello, everyone. I'm still working out the kinks here. Let's see. Double checking. I'm just double checking here. Welcome to a live stream episode here of the podcast, and I am okay. Cool. Just making sure that we are up and running here. All right, cool beans. Let's see, comments. Let's go in there. Okay. Oh, there I am. Alrighty, welcome to episode 164, our early Oscars predictions. Not really predictions per se. I don't know what we're going to call this, but that's what I'm calling it for now.
It's awfully early to get these predictions right, but hey, we'll give it a go.
Yeah. This is a shot in the dark, and there's this article. Well, first off, I want to welcome Scott Schreiber to the podcast here. Welcome back.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
It's been a long time. Our last official episode here on the podcast was back in April. So, like, I've moved. I'm going back to school, career change, a lot of things going on, a lot of exciting things going on, and still getting the studio up and running. And we've done some other stuff on the channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe and smash that like button and all those things you're supposed to do on YouTube. And you can listen to the podcast wherever it's at. And anyway, so this is my first official episode of the podcast since April or something like that. So it's crazy. But I'm getting back in the swing of it. And I just wanted to live stream tonight. And so whenever I talk Oscars, I always talk to my friend Scott because he knows Oscars. He's an Oscar guru, and he's my go-to guy on that. And so I just happened to open up Variety and see an article, and I was like, well, perfect freaking timing. So this is the article that I saw, and you can reference it here as we go along. It's right there. It's variety.com/list.
Yeah, so we were at the end of September, about to get into the official Oscar season. You know, we've already had a couple of big movies come out that will almost certainly be up for Best Picture because they've dominated the year. But now is usually when you get those movies that really, you know, round out the competition with the other strong candidates. But this is the time where you get all the big contenders and people release it that way on purpose. So it's fresh in your mind, and they'll vote for you and all that good stuff. So.
Hopefully that they're voting away. This is an interesting time where some of the films that are on here. I briefly looked at the article, but I wanted to go in kind of cold on this, and as Scott did, you know, so we're kind of discovering this and seeing where we think some of our predictions. And well, I already know that Oppenheimer's going to win, and then Nolan's it's going to be neck and neck with him and Scorsese, because I already know Flower Moon is going to be spectacular.
Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon looks great. I went to see Dumb Money today, which I really enjoyed. It could be, you know, the sleeper contender for some awards there, but saw a great trailer for Killers of the Flower Moon before it. It was a little more extended one that kind of really goes into the story, and it'll be great. Like, I mean, it's kind of it'll be his Native American gangster pick, and like DiCaprio and De Niro in the same film with Scorsese. You know, it's Scorsese's two muses over his life, you know, with De Niro and DiCaprio, and now they're in the same film. And but the star of that film, what it looks like, is Lily Gladstone. Like, she's getting a lot of buzz. Hell, her name is in the title of this article already. It's so she's going to be an early front runner. It'll be interesting to see if she holds on to that. I'm looking forward to it. I've been watching a lot of Native American cinema recently, mostly TV shows. Reservation Dogs and Dark Winds, both incredible stuff. And then we got the announcement of Echo being released finally in January. Another Native American story. So yeah, it's a big time for those kind of stories, and they look like really good, well done. And Scorsese to do it, be interesting.
And this is his final film, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I haven't heard that.
Oh, okay.
If it is, it is. I mean, he's got a great. That'd be an interesting one to end on, where he finally puts De Niro and DiCaprio together.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I hadn't heard that, but
I mean, I thought I heard that this was going to be his last one, but I don't know.
No, but I hadn't heard anything like as definitive as, say, like Tarantino has been pretty adamant about his last one.
Yeah, definitely Tarantino. He's, whatever he's going to end up doing. And I guess there's something to be said for quitting while you're on top. And, but I don't know. Well, I think if you're creative, it's hard to.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he'll still be creative. He's just going to, supposedly, he's just going to stop directing. So he'll still produce. He wants to write novels, I think. And, and he'll have and he could even do TV shows, I mean, it doesn't mean
certainly.
He's not going to do, he just won't direct films anymore, which is sad, for some of us.
Right.
But back to it. Yeah. I agree with you. I think Oppenheimer's your front runner. Barbie's a strong contender. Like it really is. Those two have dominated the year. Those were the two we were mentioning earlier that dominated the year so far. And they're going to both be up for Best Picture.
I think that's a given. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're both locks, and deservedly so. Like I thought I would like Barbie, but I liked it more than I thought I would. The production design is incredible. It's one of the funniest movies. It's one of the funniest movies, if not the funniest movie of the year so far. Like Ken, I just wanted to call him Ken Gosling because he became Ken so much. But Ryan Gosling, like
I was going to say, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No.
I was going to say one of the funniest movies, but not by design. It's probably Expendables 3 or 4. What is it? 4. It came out.
This
John
week,
Campia said it's the worst film he has ever seen.
Oh, ouch.
It's like,
yeah. I mean,
it had the lowest opening of the franchise, so they've gotten progressively worse.
I've never seen any of them, so I know I'm not missing much. It's just dumb fun, I'm sure.
Exactly. I'll go see it for dumb fun. But another film that is getting amazing buzz, which could be a surprise if it lives up to what the early out of the theater, well, from critics that have seen it, reactions of it. The Creator, it could be in this Oscar talk if it's not already. I don't know if it's in the article here, but some people are calling it the best movie of the year.
Yeah, go on down and scroll down to their best picture. Those are. I don't see the Creator on their best picture predictions, but this doesn't mean that they're going to be right.
This is actually an article from September 20th, 2023 by Clayton Davis here from Variety. It says Oscar predictions, big shakeups following Lily Gladstone's campaign announcement and fall festivals concluding. So we go down here. Let's see.
Just keep scrolling down and
there's best picture right there.
Right.
Is that what we're looking for?
There. Yeah.
Yep. That's first in the thing. So the nominees are
I don't see the Creator there, but I mean, it looks interesting, and it's from the filmmaker that did Rogue One, evidently.
Gareth Edwards. So I'm excited.
Was it? Okay, Gareth Edwards. Okay.
Yeah, I plan on seeing it. It's coming out in about 6 days. So next weekend, I plan to see it, and it's one I've been kind of looking forward to with AI, and it's very timely.
It looks pretty good. The special effects, certainly, the visual effects and everything looks amazing in the Creator. I'm afraid I want to enjoy it. I'm afraid that a lot of people will be tired of this kind of same old trope of the broken down man, protecting and transporting the kid who is the key to everything. It's kind of like the story's been
Yeah.
told a lot. So if people
Yes.
have fatigue on that, it may not do well. But yeah, the special effects look amazing on that, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, the story follows through too, and yeah, we could definitely see it on the actual Oscar list later. But yeah,
So
looking at that list, so we talked about Barbie and Oppenheimer. They're predicting that.
yeah, Barbie
Killers of the
there.
Flower Moon, they're predicting. So the other ones here are a little more obscure. Poor Things is going to be interesting to see if it is too weird and bizarre for people, because Yorgos Lanthimos is a very polarizing filmmaker. He did The
Mhm.
Lobster, and he was nominated for a few Oscars, including Best Picture for The Favorite. And yeah, Emma Stone listed there as a
Yeah.
producer as well, but like she could be a front runner for Best Actress. She may be on Variety's list here. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But yeah, it looks like kind of a retelling of Frankenstein in a way, but it also kind of looks like it's a feminist take too. Yeah, it'd be interesting. And but it does look weird, and so people may be turned off by it, and it may not get as critical acclaim as some people think here.
And some of these,
American,
I'm like you, I haven't heard of these, or maybe I've seen the trailers and
American
not really.
Fiction. I want to say American Fiction is Jeffrey Wright, who's an awesome actor. I don't know much about the film, but I think it's kind of his vehicle. Not sure. I don't really know much about it, but let me see if I've got the. It's about an author, um, who's struggling, and then
Mhm.
another book hits big on the bestseller, and it upsets him. So I don't know. We'll see how it is. I'm not familiar with the writer director is Cord Jefferson. Not heard of him. So we'll see. I'll watch whatever Jeffrey Wright does. Commissioner Gordon, right there.
That's true. That's true.
Um,
From Batman,
the
the Batman.
Holdovers. That's Paul Giamatti and Alexander Payne reuniting. That one looks interesting. Quirky sense of humor. Alexander Payne did what was that? The one Nebraska and
Uh-huh.
a couple of others that were up for Best Picture. So that could be a good quirky, low budget, you know, feel good movie. I want to say it's like a boarding school, like he's the head of a boarding school or something.
Okay.
And then Maestro, that one looks interesting. That's about Leonard Bernstein, Bradley Cooper writing, directing,
There
starring.
you go. Your Bradley Cooper guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's turning
Some
into
unknowns
the
here: Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg. Never heard of
for
them.
death. Yeah, giving him some
That's
money,
a
producing.
combination.
Yeah, basically produced. They're producing on that. So, but it looks Bradley Cooper. I want to say who else was in it? Maya Hawke and Carrie Mulligan, and I love Carrie Mulligan. So
Right.
Meister looks interesting. Origin is Ava DuVernay's film. I don't. I'm not sure what that story. Let's see. Let's see if we can
Let's see if I can click on
get to the
this.
bottom of
Oh, there
that
we go.
real quick.
Here's a little thing on the screen there. This is from September 11th. Origin can make Anu. How do you say it? Anuj Ellis Taylor
Anna
the
DuVernay.
Duvernay. Well, who is this?
She's directed
Anju.
Selma.
What can you see on the screen there? No, I clicked on it, and this is a link it brought me to. Origin can make.
I think it's on your screen.
Oh, can you see that?
It's all right. No.
Okay, so that doesn't work. Okay, let me go back then. I'm sorry. That opens an
No, it's
additional
okay.
screen.
So yeah, I'm not familiar with it. It looks like a period piece. It's got Vera Farmiga, Connie Nielsen, John Bernthal, Anjanou Ellis Taylor, who's really hot right now. Like she's getting all the work. Nick Offerman, good cast. Niecy Nash,
They're
Audra
saying, yeah, she could.
McDonald.
she could be the next Halle Berry and lead actress and give the Oscars its first Ava DuVernay in Best Director. That's what the article's saying. There.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, yes, she did Selma. She kind of flopped with A Wrinkle in Time, but Selma's one of her best work there.
You know, I was thinking, just looking at the list. I just want to say real quick, looking at the list here and knowing that the strike is still going on, even though it seems like they're about to maybe come to an end of it. A lot of movies got pushed out of 2023, and one of them was Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been in this list.
You'd definitely be seeing Dune Part 2 on here.
Right. It was good. Early on, it was for me, it was Oppenheimer and Dune were like the two movies I had to see this year. And Oppenheimer didn't disappoint, and it did so much the other way. It is such a great film. It's well over 900 million now. That it's closing in on $1 billion. I don't know if it'll actually make it. If it does, it'll be Christopher Nolan's only his third film that's crossed $1 billion. Behind Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Pretty much cementing Christopher Nolan as a surefire director who's going to make money, because it's not really a story that you think would appeal to the masses, And,
oh, totally. Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive. So it's just like, oh yeah, Christopher Nolan, I'll go see what he does. And like,
yeah,
he's got that name recognition.
I don't think he's big on the whole Barbenheimer thing. He wants his stuff, of course, to stand alone. But I don't know. A win is a win. It's like people are appreciating the film. And if it got more people out there that would not have seen it, then more power to it. You want your film to be seen by the masses, when you make something. So
Past
another
Lives. One. Oh, sorry. Yeah. What were you going to move on to the next one?
I was going to say, we were talking about it earlier. Now that we got to the list, the other film I was looking forward to see is Napoleon. And I still think that could end up jumping in here. And,
right. Yeah. When we were going to get to, what we thought should be on here, Napoleon, right. We're both surprised. Yeah. It's Ridley Scott, Joaquin Phoenix, Vanessa Kirby as
another career-defining performance for him
as Josephine Bonaparte, because I think that'll be great, like seeing that relationship too with like him and his wife. But yeah, so I'm surprised that's not here. Past Lives is interesting. There's one that I missed. It came and went to
an A24
already. Yeah, it's another A24. It looked like a really, really interesting film.
Is that the people of Asian descent, the couple that they kind of like, is that Past Lives?
They grew up together. Yeah, like I think it's a Korean film. Two childhood friends
get in theaters, and I wanted to see it.
Disconnected over time, and then they kind of run into each other later. So yeah, it looked like an interesting film. Well done. Celine Song, the writer director, is getting a lot of attention for it.
Cool.
So yeah, we mentioned Poor Things. Yeah, that bizarre film. We'll see how that is received. And Zone of Interest is a film by Jonathan Glazer.
Another A24 film.
Yeah, and it's and it has to do with the Holocaust. So I think, I don't know the specific story, but it anytime you have a Holocaust film, it'll be considered if it's well done, because it's
unless it's Jojo Rabbit, it might be a comedy, right?
Yeah. But no, and I, of course, with my background, I always I'll watch any story about Jewish heritage. So, but yeah, so that's cool. Didn't expect to see some of those there. Definitely thought Napoleon would be on there.
And this is all subject to change. This,
Yeah, of course, this is early. This is very early, so we could be right by saying Napoleon's going to be on there. Another one I'm surprised that not on there is because how her first film was really well received was Emerald Fennell, or Fennell. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I should say it right because I loved her first film, Promising Young Woman. She's got a new one coming out with Barry Keoghan called, I want to say Saltmore. Hold on Saltburn. I'm sorry, Saltburn. Some of the early reviews, I guess, don't look that great though. But I love her style. So we'll see if it's a little more well received. Carrie Mulligan working with her again in that one. I don't think she's the lead or anything, but yeah. So what do they say for director? Let's see here.
Director. That looks like Tyler Perry in the picture. No.
So that makes sense. That makes sense with Greta Gerwig. We talked about the front runners. We thought the front runners are Oppenheimer, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Yorgos Lanthimos.
Oh, by the way, I guess the little 3 stars that they have in here are their picks, because then they have picked for Best Picture Oppenheimer.
Like
so they're picking director Christopher Nolan.
That may be a safe bet. It may stay that way the whole time. I mean, it's and deservedly so. So I mean, it's pretty intense.
Well, you mentioned Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. You mentioned him.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a visionary. Then the movie looks wild, and like the production design, it will certainly be nominated. I think Emma Stone will be nominated. I mean, you could Mark Ruffalo possibly. I don't know. We have to see how the film goes. But the name that kind of pops out there is Cord Jefferson. It's kind of like, it makes me really want to see American Fiction. So him and Jeffrey Wright.
Is that him in the picture? I'm not sure. In this variety,
that's it.
That's
not Greta Gerwig.
That's not Greta.
I would imagine. And it's definitely not Nolan or Scorsese, and I'm pretty sure it's not Yorgos. So yeah, I'm assuming that's Cord Jefferson. Yeah.
So then, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, which that's not a surprise. Yeah. But the thing about this, I feel like we're going to have to. I'm sorry, I was going to say we're going to have to run out and see this film because it's an Apple original film, so it's probably going to get a short window of release, just enough to get nominated, enough people to see it, and then, that's the way to cover the box office as well, and then throw it on Apple. That's
what he's been doing lately. And I think, again, it does have a Irishman-like runtime. I think it's close to 4 hours again. So, of course, once again, Scorsese doesn't know how to edit himself. But, that's interesting. I think that Greta Gerwig certainly deserves to be up there. I was skeptical of what that movie would be, and was just really
nobody, even maybe Greta and maybe what's her name? Barbie. I can't think of her name. I've gone blank.
Margot Robbie.
She pretty much. I know Margot Robbie early enough said she really believed in it. And she said, if you do this film, it's going to be $1 billion, and they laughed at her. And nobody's laughing now because it's almost, $1.5 billion or somewhere around there. So exactly. I wonder if the thing is enough love has gone to Oppenheimer and Barbie this year that, now they're thrown into they don't need the award. They've already got it. Let's give it to Scorsese or, one of these other relatively unknown people.
Nolan has never won director. So
that's a shame.
I think he's probably, I think he's going to be your front runner for sure, because he's never won, and what he in this film is pretty brilliant. So, But so let's go on to actor and see what they think about actor.
Actor in a leading role. We have.
Oh, look, Coleman Domingo, huh? Okay.
For Rustin.
Coleman Domingo for Rustin. He's him. He's
Paul Giamatti for the Holdovers. That feels like that would be a long time coming for him, if he got it. It's almost like a career award. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's been up for at least one. I know he was nominated for Sideways, so he's been
Sideways. Oh God, you're right. Yeah.
And I can't remember if he was nominated for, what was that one called? It was like American. He was a comic book writer or something. I don't know. I'm getting old. I'm starting to forget the names of these old movies. American Splendor. I get it.
American Splendor. Okay.
But I would have thought here Cillian Murphy would have been your front runner for Oppenheimer. I know he's got one iconic
Me as
role in his
well.
back pocket already. For Peaky Blinders, he's already got one iconic role. But now, and this is certainly, as far as films go, is certainly iconic for him. But they're predicting Jeffrey Wright. Wow. So Jeffrey Wright being predicted here again. American Fiction looks like it could be a contender. Let's put that one on the one to go see. But yeah, Rustin I've not heard of for Coleman Domingo. It looks like a Netflix film, so
yeah,
I'll be checking that one out. And then of course Leo gets put there.
Yeah, he won one for The Remnant. Now, I won't say that was his best role to me. I did enjoy the film, but wasn't. I don't know if that. I'd have to look at what came out that year. I can't remember. I used to know off the top of my head, but I would out of all of it. I mean,
go ahead. That year I was all for it because it felt like he had deserved it for a couple of roles before.
Yeah,
so I was like, why not?
That's true. Yeah, he had the momentum.
Like, and what he had to go through, I think, was too like. When he filmed The Revenant, he was actually filming in those conditions, in the climate,
right?
And below freezing temperatures. So, I think it was definitely justified. But yeah, that was what 2015. That was a while ago. Man, time flies. Doesn't seem that long ago.
And so
yeah.
Let's see. 1 second here. I'm just gonna. So I was just checking the comments real quick, just make sure we didn't have anybody. If you're there and you want to shout out, you can. Let's see. This is our early Oscars prediction. We're basing it off of an article here from Variety, variety.com. You can go there and check it out. And let's see, back to the countdown here. Looking at best actor, I don't think Leo's going to
again. Who do you think? Well, he's already won one.
Murphy.
I think.
And
I agree that Cillian Murphy should win.
What did I say, Cillian? I'm so silly. Yeah. Cillian Murphy. Sorry,
but again, I haven't seen American Fiction, so we'll see. I would put Cillian Murphy as the front runner. Surprised again, Joaquin Phoenix for Bonaparte or Napoleon. He's not there. So
it's funny that they haven't mentioned it. Yeah, maybe nobody's actually seen it yet. Any of the critics, so they can't really put it on here yet.
True.
So
yeah, I don't know.
That could be it. All right. How about actress in a leading role? We've got the following. Let's see. Oops, computer glitching. There we go. You're gonna have to say the first name.
Anjou Ellis Taylor.
For Origin.
Yeah, she's been doing a lot of great work recently. She was just in the new season of Justified. She was nominated a year or two ago for King Richard, the Serena Venus Williams movie.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and so she's in that the Ava DuVernay film Origin. Okay, so she's an early name here. Sandra Hüller. Not familiar with Anatomy of a Fall. I saw that she was in the Best Picture nominee, The Zone, the Holocaust film. So she's in a couple of films here. And they're predicting Lily Gladstone as it looks like a pretty powerful perforance for Killers of the Flower Moon. And there's Emma Stone Mulligan down there. Yeah, my girl Carrie. I was going to come back to her. Yeah, we mentioned Emma Stone for Poor Things earlier. So yeah, I mean, it does look like she puts her whole being into that film. But yeah, interesting. Carrie Mulligan for Maestro. I believe she plays Leonard Bernstein's.
Leonard Bernstein. The
Yeah,
REM song.
Bernstein's collaborator and I believe wife. I may be wrong about that, but I don't know enough about Bernstein, and I will when I see that film.
Yep.
But yeah, no names. Who do you think's missing from here? Like I don't know if I would put Margot Robbie in here, but she was the perfect Barbie. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an Oscar caliber role. Although I do think Ryan Gosling gives an Oscar caliber performance. Like it's the funniest performance of the
And
year.
maybe he'll be in the next one, actor in a supporting role. You know,
let's see.
He's Knuff. So, you know,
he is. He is
actor in a supporting role, and you mentioned him. It's a picture of Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. And
Gosling,
oh my gosh.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and he's the front runner.
Ruffalo's the front runner. Oh my gosh.
How about that? Okay, I know when we talked about Oppenheimer, we both predicted Downey Jr. to be here.
Jr. should be in there, and I'm glad he is. Oh my gosh, so the Hulk and Iron Man are in there.
I really like this
Good
list.
Marvel.
Okay, like so
De Niro, Gosling,
Sterling. So American Fiction getting a lot of love here, and Sterling K. Brown's awesome. Yeah, that's a good list. Wow, Ruffalo. They think he's the front runner. Okay,
that's wild. I've got to see Poor Things. I've got to see American Fiction, and
yeah, this is. Yeah, and that's great. I love seeing Ryan Gosling here.
I love this list, but my God, how do you go up against De Niro? How can anybody win over De Niro and feel good about themselves? I mean, you would feel great about yourself, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, we'll see how important his role is.
I want Robert Downey because I'm an Oppenheimer fan all the way. I've been that since I saw the very first trailer before it, well over a year ago. I'm like, that's going to win Best Picture, and I've been saying it. I never doubted it, and it even exceeded my wildest expectations. So I've got to be Team Oppenheimer here, and I'm glad that Robert Downey Jr. is finding some love outside of Marvel. People forget he did Chaplin, which is deserved a lot more recognition.
Yeah,
probably should have gotten an Oscar for that.
This is certainly I hope that he's a lock for this because it is his first role since Tony Stark died. Right. Spoiler alert. Oh, sorry. Oh man.
Yeah. Until he comes back in Secret Wars. First spoiler alert.
No, it's his first role really that he got to sink his teeth into and really put challenge himself again since something like Chaplin or since his early 90s days and his 1990s when he was really cranking out some great stuff.
And
so yeah,
it wasn't totally off. It wasn't totally off for me to say. It's not totally off for me to say that after a while I forgot I was kind of watching Robert Downey Jr. I think with the makeup and stuff, I think I think he dissolved into that role pretty well. So that's always a good sign of an actor. And we know De Niro, he's usually used to transform himself. He's probably the king of that, for roles that he did. And this is a hard and if you want the outlier, it's probably Sterling K. Brown of that whole group, and he could snatch it away. I could see that maybe, you have all the other
an outlier as in he hasn't done a lot of film.
Right.
But he had a great role in Waves a year or two ago. So he's starting to do more film and I want to see American Fiction.
I do too.
But yeah, one thing that I'm noticing here that's kind of getting forgotten already, which was basically the best reviewed movie of early 2023 was Air, the story of,
you're right. We talked about that months ago. Yeah.
So I was hoping that Air would kind of stay in people's minds for a while, and it may still. The variety could be wrong. But we'll see. Maybe in supporting actors, we haven't gotten there. Maybe Viola Davis pops up. and
because
there.
she was really good in that. And Damon, it was and seeing Ben Affleck and them back in, you know, rare form. It's interesting because when you know, Matt Damon looks the same as he's always kind of looked, you know, just older. And Ben Affleck he was so young back then. He looks so young, you know, from Good Will Hunting. And sometimes I forget he's the same person that was in Good Will Hunting. You know, just he's aged, and I'm not saying he didn't age well. I'm just saying I don't know. He just looks a little bit more different than Matt Damon does from when Matt Damon was you know, when they were in their early times. So here we go. Actress in a supporting role. We have.
All right.
I'm waiting for my computer is frozen. Okay, there we go. Wow, this is pretty interesting.
Okay.
We have Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Penelope Cruz for Ferrari.
I figured Emily Blunt would be here. Maybe Florence Pugh for Oppenheimer. America Ferrera for Barbie. Like I mean, I'm all for it. I thought she did a great job in there, but again, it's just like I don't know. Like she was great.
I really feel like she was really she was there, the important message part of the movie, especially, you know, and
she gives that monologue that kind of makes the point. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense. So she is very good in that. She was very good.
I really enjoyed her character. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, she was in Dumb Money. I saw, the film I saw today too. So she was very good, and she kind of was the heart of that film too. So yeah, it's a good year for her. She probably does deserve to be here with two performances like that. So cool to see her there. There's Sandra Huller again. So they have her in lead and supporting.
Really?
I don't know who Divine Joy Randolph is for Holdovers, but
Holdovers.
And that's who she picked. Is the front runner.
And that's a picture over there.
Their front runner at least.
Their front runner.
So I don't know. That's probably the picture of Huller for Zone of Interest. That looks more like.
Oh, is it? Okay, I don't know. It doesn't actually say. A24.
I would say from the A24. Yeah.
So that would be Sandra Huller.
Look up Divine and see if I know who she is.
Divine Joy Randolph.
Okay. Okay. I reckon. What has she been in? She was in Lost City. She was in Dolomite Is My Name. That's where I first remember her. You remember the main actress in Dolomite Is My Name? She was in the Lost City.
Oh yeah,
and The Idol, which I just started watching. So yeah, interesting. And then they have her as their front runner. Good for her.
Interesting.
And I'm not familiar with Ferrari. If that's going to be,
I've seen previews for it.
Is that Almodovar? For honestly, oh no, maybe not. Michael Mann. Okay.
Interesting.
Nice. Michael Mann film. I haven't seen him do anything recently that I can remember. Not that it was high profile, so I'm that's awesome. Oh wow, Adam Driver is Enzo Ferrari. Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, that's right. Adam Driver is in that. Yeah, I saw the preview. It reminds me. I don't know. Maybe that's why it reminds me of the House of Gucci, because Adam Driver's in it. I don't know. It's like one of those same type of movies, but I'm sure it's going to be different.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, he's just playing Italian. I'm assuming that he's Italian. I don't know.
Yeah. All righty.
Well, cool. So, that's an interesting list. Happy to see Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt deserves on every list.
I agree. Let's see. So now we look at original screenplay. This could be interesting. And oops, hold on a second.
Okay, and Barbie being their front runner makes sense. Like it is a
Those
really smart script from a male perspective and female perspective because it was Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig co-writing together, husband and wife or partners. I don't know if they're actually married, but partners, and they did come up with a great balanced script because it didn't feel heavy-handed, even though they do kind of drive the message home a lot.
right.
It didn't
I,
feel
I felt
heavy-handed.
it was probably the fairest way of putting that narrative forward without preaching too much. It was
Yeah.
well done. And this is
And
an
then,
interesting thing. For
yeah, so
somehow,
that
I feel like Past Lives might be the one here, even though they didn't pick it.
yeah, I mean it could be A24 usually
I'm thinking
is a strong contender for the screenplays.
because they did everything
so Bradley
everywhere all at
Cooper
once,
wrote.
right? So I feel like maybe that's a continuation.
Yeah,
from
that
last
was
year,
their first Best Picture. Yeah, that was their first A24's first Best Picture win. It had won. It usually wins kind of the other awards, acting and writing.
Well,
But yeah,
I
so
knew
May
that.
December is
Well, one thing I want to say real quick,
May
and it just made me think.
December.
Mm-hmm. You were saying something? Oops, hold on.
Oh no, I thought you were going to make one. May December is the only one new here that we haven't seen on the list. But I think that was actually filmed. I want to say it was filmed in Savannah.
Was it? Okay.
It was
Sam Birch,
yeah,
Alex Mechanic. I'm saying that wrong. Mechanic.
Like is Natalie? I want to say it was Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore.
Okay. Oh yeah. The the one thing I was going to say, and it made me think of it, and this is, I think, a bit of a snub, but I knew Hollywood, since they passed on it, they wouldn't really reward the film, and it was probably the biggest surprise, and probably the biggest surprise, or not just box office wise, but quality wise, is Sounds of Freedom. I think that should have been in the Best Picture nod. I think, I know we're not talking Best Picture necessarily, but it's all kind of, related with the Oscars.
It was certainly an effective. It's certainly an effective film. I don't know if I would put it in top 10 of the year, but the message is strong. It's delivered well.
Yeah. It's not.
I think evidently there were a lot of people.
A lot of people turned it political.
Yeah,
and it really was not a political film at all. It just, there were
not the film itself. It wasn't direct. Like they didn't name names or point fingers or anything. But the message after the film from Caviezel is kind of pointed at, like, again, doesn't specifically say anybody, but is pointed at the people that tried to not get that film released. And it's kind of a contentious message, but I'm all for them getting movies out. Nobody should be censored. So,
I agree. So it should have seen the light of day, and studios passed on it, and it sat on the shelf for a while. And I feel that it's just a justification that if you make an important film, that it's going to be seen, and it was such a grassroots effort. So there's many people out there that love that film, that really, it was it was just a good film. Films like that usually aren't delivered well, but it was very convincing. It was a tight production, it just, everything just about that film was just on point, and it didn't offer you more than you needed, really. It gave you pretty much the facts of the situation and stuck to the story without, embellishing too much, I would think. So I don't know. But yeah, what's in the list here? And I'm sorry for diverging on that, but it made me think about that when we said original screenplay because, I don't know if I would put it in that category, but I don't know. So does Barbie win it? They've picked a variety's early picked Barbie. It
I
could.
I think that
This one I
it's
don't know.
certainly. I do think it's probably your front runner for original screenplay, because if for nothing else, it's probably one of the ones where it'll certainly has the best chance of winning, and that's where people
Right.
will probably vote and be like, all right, well, here, if it's going to win at least one, it should be for its strengths, and the strength is the screenplay. The strength is the screenplay. The strength is the production
That's true.
design, the hair and makeup,
Definitely.
and the
Definitely.
performances and the acting. So like I agree with this here wholeheartedly, and would be definitely all for Barbie winning this. I've not seen the other four films here; none of them have come out yet. So, or actually, Past Lives did. I'll have to find that and see it. But still, I mean, there's other films that probably deserve it too. So, but I
Yeah.
like Barbie there.
Yeah. I don't mind it there. I feel like Maestro. I want to see Maestro. Maestro could be an interesting film. I think. So I have a feeling.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper is. It's interesting what he's doing with his films he's choosing to write and direct. It's like he's choosing these musical, type films.
Hmm.
So hats off to him.
So let's see. This is now we're looking at adapted screenplay, and we have some interesting a lot
So
of the same
basically,
films.
all five of these were predicted for Best Picture. So yeah, it's interesting. You see a lot of these. They are writers and directors on their own films, except for Poor Things. You've got all four of the other ones are directors of those films. So not familiar with the source material on some of these. Reading American
This one,
Prometheus, I was, but
yeah.
I would like to read Killers of the Flower Moon. But thing is, like when I've never read a book and then the movie comes out, it's like I kind of want to. I want to be surprised in the film, so I don't want to read the book. So
That's how
sorry,
I am.
books.
If I'm gonna read, yeah, stupid books. No, but no. Yeah. Uh,
No, don't say
if
that.
there's like an adaptation, I want to watch the movie first and then read the book, and and then I can decide whether which was better. But I don't want it to ruin the film, like knowing like they may have omitted something with a character, that some creative license they might have used in the film that diverges from the book, or it doesn't translate well, so that they don't mention a certain whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. So I don't want to go in there, well, in the
Yeah,
book it was like this, and I don't want to go in that preconceived notion. I'd rather go in kind of blind and make up my own decision, and then
yeah,
if I read later that
yeah,
it's
exactly.
better. Yeah.
And they've
This one
got
I'm
so they're they've got Poor Things as their front runner, which is interesting because again, it's like that's the one category that maybe okay, here we give Poor Things an award, um,
right.
but I don't know. That looks more like a production design and Emma Stone being the strengths of that, but we shall see.
Yeah, let's see. Up next, we have, well, I want to say out of that list, of course, I would go with Oppenheimer. And I'm not seeing the other ones yet, so it's hard to really judge it. I feel like that one, I'm not. I want to say it's Oppenheimer's a shoe in, but they're picking Poor Things, so maybe they know something that I don't. Up next, we have animated feature. Let's see, and this article's loading a
Yeah,
little bit
which is
slower. There we go.
so. So I'm very interested to see the first one on that list, The Boy and the Heron,
Boy and the Heron. Yeah.
Miyazaki's new film, which I thought he was done. I thought he had retired, that he was never making another movie. He was the filmmaker who did, we just went and saw Princess Mononoke, that special screening
Right.
of when I was visiting
Yeah.
you there in Augusta. So I thought Miyazaki was done. But
Maybe he
here's
thought he
another
was too.
film. But like they've got so they've got Spider-Verse as their favorite, which makes sense. I mean,
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
it probably is the best, for style and everything. It probably is the best film. I just have a problem giving it awards for best film or best screenplay or anything, because to me, it is not a complete film. I know there are going to be people that hate me for that, but to me,
I agree.
it did not feel like a complete film. Like, I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was like, 2.5 hours of eye candy, and it was a good story. And like, I'm invested and I want to see the next one. But to me, I'm such an old school film guy that this isn't episodic television. I didn't want to.
Right.
I did not want to watch an episode. I want to, when I go to a theater, I want to see a complete story, beginning, middle, end, and there is no end. And so that's my main critique of it, and why I wouldn't say it's the best film of the year or in Best Picture, because to me, that detracts from it being a perfect movie when you don't really give an ending. And it's just, I don't know. I'm sure there are people that can maybe fight me on it and change my mind, but I enjoyed it. It's better than most movies that have come out this year. But that's my main critique of Spider-Verse. It's like, we aren't watching TV episodes here. These are films. It's got to be a full, complete story, beginning, middle, end. And so, like, of the films here on this list, I haven't seen. I'm not familiar with Nimona. Trolls Band Together, that'll be the third one in that installment. I do those movies are fun. The music's good. But Elemental, I like seeing here. Pixar did it again, in my opinion. I thought Elemental was great. So
Elemental stuck around long enough, and with a lot of the bombs that were dropping at the box office this year, especially this summer, it had legs, and it stuck around long enough to do respectably, respectable in theater. And I enjoyed it. I thought it wasn't a terrible film. It was, some people thought it was horrible, and I don't see that. I enjoyed it. I mean, was it the best Pixar film? No, not at all. But it was good. It was, it was enjoyable, and I was invested in the story with the characters. So, I didn't mind it. It's kind of like The Little Mermaid. A lot of hate.
No,
I thought it was a good film. It wasn't great. It was kind of meh, but it wasn't bad.
Little Mermaid was maybe a little. They added too much to it. It was a little long, but I thought Halle Bailey was fantastic.
Yeah. Now I did hate the what is her name? The comedian that she's usually pretty funny, but she did a rap in the film, and she was the seagull or whatever. What is her name? Aquafina was the worst part of that film for me. I was like, oh, it was terrible. I mean, her, just her character was annoying, and it just, the song didn't work.
She didn't bother me. I think more so is just kind of like that. Maybe that rap felt out of place. It was like, hey, let's hire Lin-Manuel Miranda to write a rap song and throw it in there, and it's like, yeah, it kind of felt out of place. It
did not fit. It felt very out of place, and
that's not Aquafina's fault. Do not blame Aquafina.
I like Aquafina. I like Shang-Chi because she was in it. She made that film a lot more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Here, let's get to a fun category: production design. This is
all right. So the two that I mentioned before, Barbie and Poor Things, would definitely be down there. They're here, and they have Poor Things as the front runner. Interesting, because I really do think Poor Things' production design does look pretty wild. But I don't know how you can really top Barbie's production design. I think that'll be your front runner eventually.
And it's a production design, I mean, that transcended the theater. I mean, I still see when see people wearing pink, it's like, it's like you think of Barbie now. It's like part of the lexicon of what society. It seems like Barbie was such a mammoth success, and I'm kind of happy for Barbie because I thought Barbie would be okay. I didn't think it would be anything near what it's turned out to be, and to be actually a good film as well. Not just the box office, the phenomenal box office, but to be such a good film. And I feel like it's really cool to see that realization too.
Well, they chose the right person to helmet. Like I don't think they could have picked a better person than Greta Gerwig to lead the charge on that film. So I don't think you have a movie that good if you pick anybody else. So
I agree. Stellar cast, and we'll be hearing more from Barbie. But on this one, I mean, I have to see Poor Things now. I definitely want to see it. It's come up enough in these lists that it's got to be an interesting enough film. And
yeah. Oh well, that reminds me. Like again, I was surprised that Willem Dafoe wasn't up there for supporting actor because he looks like he's Dr. Frankenstein in this film, Poor Things, and he usually gets nominated, right, for his weird performer or supporting actor performance
because he does it so well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Poor Things looks like it's going to be a front runner. It definitely looks really meticulously made. So, put that on the list. And Maestro. So Maestro looks like it's a Netflix movie. So, but some of they have to have a release. They probably, if they don't do a wide release, they at least do like a 2-week release in LA and call it
the major cities, so they can say that it physically was in theaters. So next we go on to cinematography, and there's Neon Films Ferrari showing there. Eric Messerschmidt, I worked on a production with him on Devotion, which was a good film.
He was on Devotion. Nice.
Yes, he definitely was. I saw the invoices come across my desk, but yeah, he good for him. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And
so yeah, the Oppenheimer, the front runner here. That's not surprising that cinematography.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, Scorsese's films usually have an amazing look to them. All right, there's Saltburn. Finally, okay. So there's the Emerald Fennell film. That she's such a brilliant filmmaker. I know she's only done one, but like the style of her of Promising Young Woman was so incredible that I'm really looking forward to this. So they have cinematography. Yeah, cinematography on Promising Young Woman was awesome. So it's probably the same dude. Linus Sand, yeah, it is. And then Zone of Interest, the Holocaust film.
Right.
All right. Good stuff.
Costume design. We already know what this. Oh, wow.
Again, okay. Poor Things over Barbie. How about that? Again.
Interesting.
Yeah, but things may change, obviously. Okay, there's the first mention of the color purple. I was wondering if we would see that in the Best Picture race. Obviously the original film from, I believe, 1980, 81, Spielberg's classic. The original was nominated for Best Picture and Director and everything, but did not win one single award. So it's going to be interesting to see how much love the musical version of The Color Purple gets. I'm looking forward to it. I'm usually not a big Taraji P. Henson fan, but she looks pretty good in this.
It does look good. I saw the trailer the other day, but I'm going to have a hard time distinguishing it between the masterpiece that The Color Purple was, the Spielberg, with Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah and all that. And
yeah, but you're just going to have to go. Like, it is going to be a different experience being a musical,
right?
So
because you can't redo that film. That film can never be redone. I mean, it's one of those films I feel like has been told so well. It's going to be interesting to see this version, how people are going to warm to it. I feel like it's going to do pretty decent at the box office. I don't know that it's going to be a
I would
runaway
think
hit,
so.
but
I think it'll do well. It was pretty well received on Broadway,
yeah,
so yeah, I think it should do well. It'll probably have a holiday release too, which will help. It'll probably be
right. I think
Thanksgiving,
it
Christmas.
is at the end of the year. Well, we're almost at the end of the year, but
So yeah,
let's
and
see.
that's not surprising. We definitely call Barbie and Poor Things being down there, Killers of the Flower Moon. It's almost like some of these definitely won't be here because you'll have some little independent movie that comes out of nowhere that has
Right.
incredible like costumes or something. So
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
good list though. Makes you want to,
Let's see.
definitely it supports like Maestro and Poor Things. And
So next we go film editing, and
so Variety, they're predicting everything. Holy cow!
yeah, Oppenheimer for film
Yeah, I
editing.
mean
I got no
that's
problem
a
there.
that's a shoe in. The way they,
That is a shoe in, even
that
though they
movie's
probably could have
put
took 20
together,
minutes off
absolutely.
the film, but it's still a brilliant film. And
Here again,
you know,
all right, here again with Killers of the Flower Moon. Okay, I
Flower
know
Moon.
that I had a problem with when The Irishman was nominated for film editing. I'll have a problem with
Yeah,
Killers of the Flower Moon
I
because if
mean,
you can't
being
cut a movie down to 3 hours, past 3 hours and 45 minutes, then maybe they're just rewarding Thelma Schoonmaker for having to go through 28 hours of footage and cutting it
right.
down to three. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
did she do a
I wouldn't
job?
put
Did she, did she earn that
yeah, did she
paycheck or
edit it?
not? I don't know.
I'm sure she did because Scorsese may be a little indulgent, but that's her job to cut it down. So, but yeah, not surprising to see Oppenheimer, the front runner.
Yeah,
American Fiction here is another interesting one, and Poor Things being seen again. So, we're seeing a pattern here that Variety thinks Oppenheimer, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things. Those are your front runners. American
right.
Fiction looks like it's right there with them. Yeah.
And let's
All
see,
right.
what
So
do
what
we
do
have
we have
next?
for makeup? Yeah, makeup and
Makeup and
hair.
hairstyling.
Barbie and Poor
Oops.
Things again. Color Purple gets in here. Maestro, Rustin. So Maestro looked like they were put a lot of prosthetics on Bradley Cooper to make him look like Leonard Bernstein. So that'll be interesting.
Hmm.
Oppenheimer should be here for Robert Downey Jr. alone, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think this will be a close category because I could almost see the color purple having a right to be in this, you know, um, category. And I think that's
Yeah, but I
or
just feel
Barbie. I don't
like
know.
by the time the Oscars gets there, Barbie's going to get so much attention and love. I think that
True.
this will end up going to Barbie.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be against that. So I wonder. Let's see if the next category, always my favorite sound, is this going to be more Nolan? Yep, they
Yeah.
picked
Oh yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Uh, and if
And
Christopher Nolan is making a film, you can guarantee it's going to be nominated for Best
sound.
Sound and probably win.
Exactly.
He's got the
Yeah.
best sound team in the game. Or yeah, so
Now the one here I've not heard of, the Bike Riders, 20th Century Studios. I don't know
yeah, me
anything
neither.
about
Hold on a
that.
second. I'm curious. Let me. That looks like it's Austin Butler in the picture, doesn't it?
It does. Let me see. Could be. No, that's Elvis Presley. What are you talking about?
No, it's Elvis. Oh man! All right, it's Jeff Nichols. Okay, so
Oh,
Jeff
Jeff
Nichols. I
Nichols.
can't believe I didn't know this was being made, but so Jeff Nichols is one of my favorite American auteurs right now. He did Take Shelter. He that's such a brilliant film with Michael Shannon.
Mhm.
He did Midnight Special, which was got mixed reviews. Loving, the story about the interracial couple
That was a good
that
film.
got
Yeah,
married. That was a set precedent. And Mud, remember Mud with Matthew
I do
McConaughey?
remember mine. Yeah.
Like he's a
Dang.
really great writer and filmmaker. So yeah, I'm so Bike Riders, and it's got Austin Butler. It's got Tom Hardy. Like, come on now.
Wow.
Anytime Tom Hardy is in something, I'm watching it. I'm actually going. I'm late to the game. I know you've never watched Peaky Blinders, so you're really late to the game. But
I keep hearing so much
I'm
about it.
halfway
Yeah.
through. Hey, well, now that you have the appreciation for Cillian Murphy more from Oppenheimer, go watch Peaky Blinders. And Tom
Well,
Hardy has a small
I had the
role
appreciation for him in Red Eye
for Scarecrow.
and then of course Scarecrow. Yeah, like from Nolan, and gosh, I want him to
No,
win. I feel like this would be a really good time, and he may never get this opportunity again. We don't know that, but I feel like
yeah,
I want him to win. I think it would be great if
yeah,
he
no.
could.
So no, I agree. Like, I think
It would take
he's
him to that next
fantastic.
level in his career.
But yeah, like Hardy has a small role in Peaky Blinders, and it's great. He's a Jewish gangster in that, so he's a hero of mine. But yeah, for Bike Riders, Jodie Comer. Oh yeah, Michael Shannon, of course, working with Jeff Nichols again. It's going to be a great one. I'm looking forward to that. Boyd Holbrook, Norman Reedus, of course. It's a biking movie, so we've got to have Daryl Dixon. How about
There you
that?
go.
So they're calling for sound on that. Okay. So best sound, there's a good sound design there. So they've also got the Scorsese film, Spider Verse. I get that. Zone of Interest, the Holocaust film. I shouldn't keep calling it the Holocaust film,
Yeah.
but I guess on this list it's the Holocaust film. Um, but yeah, well, yeah, I didn't know about this Jeff Nichols film. I'm excited now. Looks like it may be like
With the
Hell's
cast
Angels
only
too.
could be, yeah, it could be pretty big film. So
Yeah, I
visual
love Jodie.
effects
All right,
next is
sure. There's the
boy, this is
creator.
the creator. There we go. And
And finally, Guardians of the Galaxy. I kind of, when we were talking about Best Picture, I kind of wanted to mention Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because
right.
honestly, it probably will end up being in my top 10 of the year. So in that
It
regard, I
could
would say
probably
it's
be in
Best
mine.
Picture. Like it
You
was
kn-
so good. And it had such a great message, and it was a great ending to a trilogy. And like I understand the cultural significance of Black Panther, but to me, it's a better movie than Black Panther. Black Panther was
oh yeah.
nominated for Best Picture, so it's I don't know. I'd love to see Guardians of the Galaxy get a little more love than just visual effects, and then lose visual effects.
Right.
But yeah, I'm surprised they don't have the creator as your front runner here.
They actually
Yeah,
picked the
well,
Little Mermaid, which is
Little Mermaid. I'm
wow.
gonna go. I'm gonna go out and say that they're. I don't know. Maybe they will be. Maybe they know something we don't. But I just don't see how the Little
Could be.
Mermaid would get all the votes for this, especially with
Well,
the creator. Maybe once the creator
yeah.
comes out, people will be like, "Oh wow." And maybe I don't quite understand how Spider Verse was made. Um,
Hmm. The
it's
interesting one is kind of a
animated. How is it up for visual
surprise
effects?
for me, but I can still see that if it had any chance, it's in the right category. It's Blue Beetle, and I
Yeah, I mean the
guess
visual
because
effects were solid. I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
I enjoyed Blue Beetle. I didn't think it was again it didn't reinvent the wheel, but it was enjoyable. I love George Lopez in it. So anyway,
yeah.
my
Well, I mean, I didn't
my
actually
my
bring
two
myself to
cents.
actually wanting to
But yeah,
see it.
I thought the visual effects were solid.
Yeah, I wanted to care more for it, but I don't,
Ah,
and I don't know, but yeah, the creator, if it's everything that its early projections are saying, should be um, in here. Now, you know what's missing, and this may not be the category I'm thinking of, but maybe that's missing, and I don't know if it's best picture material or if it was, but if they gave away stunts, it should have been in there. Was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One, and this was a year it got crushed and forgotten about in the Barbenheimer movement, and as a Tom Cruise fan, I'm destroyed by the whole thing. It only made $500 million, so
Well,
by his standards, that's
just wait for part two. Part two will be better
yeah,
received. They'll time it out better.
yeah,
I myself, like, I was all for Top Gun Maverick being in the Best Picture consideration because I did think it was one of the best films last year. And I
yes.
would have probably said the same thing for Fallout. I loved Fallout, but Dead Reckoning Part One, I don't think it's quite Best Picture caliber. I do think it's a
No,
great
I
film.
don't.
It's a great action film. The problem that I have with it is a lot of it is, although it's actually kind of one of the reasons I really like the film too, is it takes a lot of those old scenes from prior movies and then just redoes it. So in that regard, it's not necessarily unique that it's just recycling kind of
I
old
don't know
scenes
that
and
I wouldn't
storylines.
say it's necessarily.
But
I feel like it's paying an homage. I feel like it's trying to bring together because it feels like, and I heard rumors that these last two films will end his reign and Ethan Hunt's reign in this iteration of Mission Impossible. But I think at this point, he's 61, 62 or eventually, and you got to kind of wrap things up, or we'll end up with an Indiana Jones, where he's just, oh dear, I don't even want to talk about Dial of Destiny, but um, I feel like
no,
they're beginning
yeah,
to pull the
I would.
strings together, and that's how I looked at it. Instead of them just like recreating stuff from the older films, I feel like they're reaching all the way back to the beginning and just pulling the strings together so they can tie up the entire story by part two. If
I
that's
like
if
the
that's the way it's
homages.
going.
I'm not
No, I
saying
know
that
you did.
it's
I know you
it
did.
makes it a bad film. I
Right.
enjoyed the film and I enjoy those homages. I'm just saying if we're nitpicking for top 10 of the year, then
Yeah.
that's going to be something that I'm going to have to nitpick. So
Right.
because
Well,
it probably will end
I'm
up
pretty
in my
assured,
top
and
25 of the year for sure.
yeah,
But I don't know. Probably won't land in top 10. We'll see. There's a lot of good
it
stuff as we've seen. There's a lot
for
of
me
stuff
it
to get.
probably would land in the top 10, but not as high as I had it been a bigger success. I feel like I might have liked it more, but in the perspective of the other films, especially Oppenheimer, yeah, it's not the same league. It's not a best
Right.
picture contender like Maverick would have been. Or I agree with Fallout. Fallout was my favorite as well, and I just like that the films have gotten better. You know, you know, this one just was not as good, but it was actually a pretty good story. And it's hard for me sometimes to follow Mission Impossible stories because there's so many twists and turns. But I really did enjoy the idea of this film, and
Well, and
Dead Reckoning
there's
Part One.
and Dead Reckoning Part One is the perfect example of what a Part One should do and still feel like a
That's
movie.
exactly
That,
right.
so that's where as I was saying about Spider Verse, what it got wrong, Dead Reckoning Part One got right. It
Got
actually
right.
did have a beginning, middle, of an end, while still being a Part One and setting up Part Two. So in that
Right.
regard, I do believe that Dead Reckoning is a better film than Spider Verse. So.
I I would agree with you on that. So let's see. Our next category coming up um, is original score.
Yeah. And if Oppenheimer doesn't win score, something's wrong.
Right.
Oppenheimer's gonna win a lot of awards. I mean, I think
And
it
it
is
should.
pretty safe to say.
Here we go again with Poor Things showing up. Origins in here. American Fiction. Spider Verse. Interesting category, but yeah, I mean, to me, that whole thing, that should be a category that Oppenheimer owns.
Yeah, because like you wouldn't think that film would be so tense and like but the score just makes you so easy, and once you sit on the edge of your seat, and it is the strongest part of Oppenheimer, in my opinion. Obviously,
And
he always has great sound design and great scores, and this is no different. If I were ranking the strengths of Oppenheimer, the score is number one, in my opinion, with sound being number two and probably Cillian Murphy being number three. But yeah, so it's cool to see that
and
it's a front runner.
I didn't feel like, the sound aspect of it overwhelmed the dialogue as in some previous films.
And not as much as Tenet, where you couldn't
Yeah,
hear what they were saying at all.
right. And that was hard enough to follow. And then if you couldn't hear what was going on, it's like,
Hey,
there
I
can't be
understood it
subtitles.
after the third time I watched it. So,
There you go. Did you watch it in reverse?
yes, the third time was in reverse.
There you go. And let's see.
Yeah,
Original song. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. We'll go to song.
It's like, yeah, we're going to original song next. It's a little slow here on my screen.
Yeah.
So
So if Barbie did not get at least one song here, yeah, it would have been criminal. But I
oh,
think
Mark
that
Ronson. That's interesting. That he's one of the producers
he
behind
wrote,
it.
yeah, he wrote
I wrote it. Yeah,
he wrote the "I'm Just Ken" song, which is just that to me. That's the best song.
I agree.
So funny and it's just and I'm not sure what was I made for. I'm not even sure if that was in the movie. Is that like
That
or is it in the credits? It's like I hate it when
it might be a credit song. I'm
when
not
it's a
sure.
credit song. It's like
Well,
no,
the big robbery here was Aqua, which they had a version of that, but Barbie Girl should have been. Any song wins for Barbie. It should be Barbie Girl. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
yeah.
And
And I haven't heard the new Timberlake song for Trolls, so he had a hit with
well,
well,
that actually
feeling.
right there, Better Place is not a Timberlake song. It's written by Timberlake, but it's the first NSYNC song in like 25 or whatever years. They got
So
back
they
together to
are
do that song. Yeah,
okay.
because they were because Taylor Swift was winning an award, and they came out. What award show was that? MTV Awards or whatever. And she was so fangirling over them. She's like, I had all your posters in my bedroom when I was young, and she was tripping out. And she's like, they came out on stage, and just every millennial lost their marbles over it. They just, oh my gosh, are they
Yeah,
back together? Are they
the
touring? And they
the
said no, and then the
trailer
next day they said yes.
the trailer for the new Trolls movie looks like they're leaning into that boy band background for that character, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm curious who they've got to play Poppy's long lost sister. I do like those movies because I love music, but so that and then there was a new song in Spider-Verse. I guess I'm not familiar with which one it was.
Am I dreaming? Yeah. Honestly, it's been so long since I saw the film. I mean, feels like this year has been cut into different segments, and that was an earlier segment of the year. Not the earliest segment, but
I haven't really written down what other song. I can't think of what other songs they would be. Well, I'm maybe surprised they're not predicting a Little Mermaid song because they did write 3 or 4 new songs for Little Mermaid, so I wouldn't be surprised if one of those songs.
The one that Halle Berry did, Halle Berry. Oh,
Bailey, Halle Bailey.
Bailey, yeah.
I think she did that on purpose, so she's now forever going to be linked with Halle Berry. She didn't change her name; she just kept it the same. So she would be confused with Halle Berry the rest of her life, and that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. There was, I'm trying to think another song. What was the other song that I felt like there was another song I was going to mention. I don't know. I can't remember now, but I think, yeah, I'm just Ken. I'm with you on that. If I had to pick a song from Barbie, it would be that. But What Was I Made For? A Billie Eilish song. It's kind of hard to bet against her, you know.
Well, she's
Um,
already got an Oscar, doesn't
I
she?
know, I know.
Did she win
But
for? She won for the James Bond song, right?
I think she did. Which I liked that, even though I hated how that film ended, but I enjoyed No Time to Die. I was so
Yeah.
hyped up, and then it got postponed for like a year because of COVID and all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing that people don't. Oh, I don't know if you heard this, but it made me think of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. Um, they ended up getting, I think it was like 62 to 75 million back in insurance to their bottom line or something to cover because of COVID or something. So they made up about 62 to 75 million of their box office was kind of covered by insurance essentially because of the budget was like 400 million for that film, and it only did about 562 million last that I checked. So it was good that they had that bit of a buffer, that kind of insurance, but it still just didn't do the kind of box office that is the lowest of the newer later Dead Reckoning part. I mean, Mission Impossible films. It started with the resurgence with Fallout and all that, or the one before that, Ghost Protocol. But anyway, I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. What's the next thing on here?
Documentary.
Documentary. Okay. I'll tell you one in here that I saw, and I don't know if it was on. So it was on. I don't know if it was Netflix. I can't remember what I saw it on, but Little Richard, I Am Everything. I tell you what, that was a good documentary. I enjoyed it, and I knew enough about Little Richard, but there's some things that I learned about him, and it's very interesting. I thought it was a well done documentary, and I would not be against that getting. I don't know that it's going to win, but if it won, I would not be displeased by that.
Yeah, other than that one, I'm not familiar with what these stories are about. Unfortunately, that's the problem with going into seeing these blind a little bit, huh?
Right.
But I am familiar with Wim Wenders. He's been nominated for Oscars before for his work. His God, what is I want to Wings of Desire. I want to say is his big one. But also Errol Morris down there, the Pigeon Tunnel. Errol Morris has been nominated so many times for his documentaries, so he's kind of a legend in the genre. Yeah, but I always love
Hmm.
a good documentary, so I like when these lists come out so we can go check out. So it looks like American Symphony, their front runner, will be on Netflix. So
Right.
if it's not already. Apple, the Pigeon Tunnel will be on Apple. So, and you'll have to look. So, Little Richard must is out there somewhere. Because
I
I
don't
know
know what I saw it on. It was. I don't know if it was.
one of the CN is it a CNN?
Maybe
Um,
it was.
one
You
of
know,
those
it might have been.
biographies.
It may have been. It may have been. And it
Uh,
wasn't that long ago that I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, this is very good,"
yeah,
And like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you get, I think you get a greater respect for Little Richard. It all wasn't just talk. It was, he
yeah.
just seemed like a really beautiful human being.
I think if you didn't live through the era or you didn't study, rock
Right.
and roll history, you probably wouldn't give Little Richard the due that he deserves. Like,
Right.
but as somebody who actually did as I was at a liberal arts school in college, and I actually took a rock and roll history class. I of course got well versed on Little Richard, and they gave him his due. But
Right.
does pop culture give him his due now? You probably don't know. Like people now, like kids now, probably don't know him like they do. Obviously, Elvis or the
Or
ones that
Prince or somebody.
get all the glory. And he was one of those front runners. He was right there with Jerry Lee Lewis and
Definitely.
And Elvis and Fats Domino and that whole early run of
Yeah, and
influence.
there's a part where the Beatles were like, and the Stones. I mean, we're talking about how influential Little Richard was, and Mick Jagger. I don't know. He said he saw his show like 25 times. It's like, you know, and
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he
s-
was a heck of a performer.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't
And
see it. It must have been on, like, you probably saw it on CNN or something, because I looked it
I
up.
think it was CNN.
I
Yeah.
don't see any other option. It's like Spectrum, Sling, so it's like all the stuff where you'd watch it on demand or
Right.
something. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely want to check that out.
Next, we have international feature, and no, none of these. Perfect Days is in there. Wenders again as
Again,
director.
see, that's what I was saying. Like, he's an interesting filmmaker because he's up for. I mean, that Perfect Days could be. I don't know enough about it, but it could be a narrative film instead of a documentary, because I think he does both. And Zone of Interest is foreign language. Well, it's international. I don't know if it's foreign language. United Kingdom, Jonathan Glazer. It may be English language, but that's the one international feature that showed up top in Best Picture, which has been happening a lot recent years. Um, so yeah, those will kind of those are probably pretty hard to predict right now. International and documentary,
Yeah.
a little more.
Um, let's see. International, is that the end of the art? No,
Yeah, that's it.
that's
That's
it.
all. That should be like that. I don't think they've tried to predict the
Yeah.
shorts. That'd be really hard to predict the shorts.
Let's scroll
But
up to
yeah,
the
I
top
mean,
here.
I think looking, over, having gone through all those, there are some glaring ones that are like Napoleon completely not
Not
being,
being on there is a
and like
shock.
not listed anywhere is interesting. Yeah, it makes you wonder if just people don't want to comment yet or they haven't seen. But I feel like it's played at festivals, so people have seen it. So
And
yeah, it's interesting, especially with Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. Like, you got those two in a film, like you'd think both of those would be definitely talked about for nominations. But yeah, it is early. It is very
right.
early.
Well, yeah, it's a very interesting list, and I realize that there's a lot of films I need to see still, and it gives me a bit of an idea of what I need to watch for here in Oscar season. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
so
But I guarantee you, there's going to be a lot of movies on this list or not on this list that end up being contenders, though, too.
oh yeah, yeah. And I still think Napoleon's going to make that list. Like we said, the creator made it in one of those. So apparently they've seen the creator enough to it to have made the list, and that concerns me. If the creator doesn't come out and be as if it's not as good as a lot of people are saying, then the fact that
Well,
they've already got it on one list is good. But
I
why is it not on
I
others
think
categories?
as I said earlier, I do think maybe the story won't be as unique to set it apart as a best picture,
Right.
but the visual effects will be unique enough, so it will get some due. Um, so and I like seeing John David Washington get all these big roles too. He's great,
Oh yeah,
following Daddy's footsteps,
that's true.
being an action star. But yeah, I mean that, and like the Emerald Fennell movie, the Saltburn, I think may get a little more recognition, but it was they had it for cinematography, so they threw it in there. Um, I, I don't know. There were some other ones that again we mentioned it earlier. Air, I think Air probably needs to be people need to be
Air
reminded.
needs to be in there. That's definitely a top 10 in my year.
So,
Which I
but yeah, this list is of stuff a lot of stuff that hasn't even come out yet. So it's
right.
interesting.
Yeah, and this we never really do an early kind of Oscars thing, but I was thinking about the Oscars and I just literally looked up on Variety, and that's the first thing that popped up, and I'm like, this article's only a few days old. I was like, I called up Scott. I was like, hey, I'm going to live stream. Let's do this. Let's talk about it. Because it gives us a prerequisite to Oscar season, I guess.
Yeah,
We'll
I always
see.
enjoy pontificating on
Yeah,
on the awards because I go see everything.
you do.
Look,
Yeah.
I am a little surprised Dumb Money's not on here at all. It kind of seems like one of those small films that critics would really like, but it
Right.
was also, as I said to you earlier today, it is kind of like The Big Short, and it doesn't have quite have the style that Big Short had,
Right.
that the Adam McKay films have. So, but the performances were good, and I could see it possibly sneak in there. But
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. Variety may have this completely wrong.
Could be. There could be some slow or sleeper films that pop in here, and who knows? But they seem to be a consensus on, like you said, who are the front runners. There's about 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. Another one I know that you didn't like as much as I did, that I'm surprised it's not on here at all, is Asteroid City. I thought there were some performances in there that were really good. It's it's weird, and it didn't, and some people probably felt like it was open ended and didn't really what was the point of it. And I get that, but it's Wes Anderson, so
There were songs in there, weren't there? Because I was thinking when we were talking original song, I did think in my mind about Asteroid City, and I couldn't remember if there were musical numbers in there.
There were actually.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
One film that I thought might have a very, very outside chance was another Joaquin Phoenix film, Beau is Afraid. Yeah. And that movie was so strange. It kind of freaked me out. And I think a lot of people that saw it.
It was so early in the year, that it probably will get forgotten, but it will probably be pretty high on my list. Honestly, it's one of those that just kind of has sat with me, and it's just it will go down as one of those movies that will certainly get like a Criterion Collection, like it will be highly reviewed by critics. Like critics really did like it. Mass audiences, on the other hand, were very turned off by it, and I get that.
The film sat with me, and I was like, "Please don't sit next to me." That's how I felt.
I feel you, man. But I just think that there were a lot of really great things said in that movie. The way it was delivered and the way the story was told was kind of bizarre for a lot of people, and maybe didn't make sense. I know it made sense to Darren Aronofsky. So, but I did kind of like, after I thought about that ending, and I'm like, which obviously we won't spoil it for anybody who wants to see it out there, but that the ending of the film makes it worthwhile for me. Honestly, it's like, okay, that was the point. It's driven home, and it's actually a good point. Many people have lived through that, and I do think it's a better film than most audiences will give it, but most critics did like it, and and again, Joaquin Phoenix is
it's not as good as Midsommar, but I almost, in my mind, somehow I kind of put it more like a Midsommar kind of film, but not as good. Not as, Midsommar was a good film, but it was kind of a disturbing film, but not disturbing to the level that Beau is Afraid was. But it's like one of those films that I feel like if you're really into film, you're supposed to say that you like, you want to have that on the list, a person that would, but I almost don't want it on my list because it's so weird. But I don't know. That's what good cinema is. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's not all popcorn movies. It's
Oh
stuff that's on
man,
this list.
yeah, I said that wrong. You're right. It is Ari Aster. Why did I think it was Aronofsky? Because
Oh,
they're
you
both
did say, yeah.
weird. No, but you're right. It's Ari Aster because I do
Yeah.
think you're right. Midsummer is definitely the better
Oh yeah.
film
Yeah.
altogether. But I thought he had another one coming out, but it was Beau is Afraid.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought this, but I was thinking that um, who directed District 9? Was that
That was Neil Blomkamp. So, and
that's
he
it.
just did Gran Turismo, which is actually a better film than
You're
I
right.
thought
You're
it
right. Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed Gran Turismo. It didn't do as well at the box office, but that's can be said for almost every film this year. There's not
would.
many
Yeah,
films that overperformed.
and you know how I feel about
Barbenheimer.
box office.
I know. I know. Box office money does not make it the film. It's like um, I think if anything in 2023 so far, we've learned that studios need to get a hold of their budgets. I think the days of, at least right now, the days of 400, $500 million films or whatever, $200, $300
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
You know,
but how do you? Yeah, they have to figure out where to cut those.
right. You got to be smart because
How do
the
you?
answer isn't just simply cut the budget. It's, how can you do it more budget friendly and still get the effects you're going for, the story beats and all that. But it always starts with a good story. And I feel like, there's with the strike, there's some people out there that have said, let the writers stay out on strike because the films this year were not that good. And I'm like, ugh, well, that's a harsh thing to say, but um I don't know. Some of the stuff I saw in cinema it's been a little disheartening this year, and it just, I even if the strike is over tomorrow, which hopefully it is, and things work out well for everyone involved, but I we're going to feel the effects of this. This is going to be worse than was it 2008 when we had the last strike that was only like 100 days. This has gone on what 130 something days at this point, and I feel like we're just getting to the point this year of kind of recovering from the pandemic, and then for the strike to rear its ugly head like it has is just really going to push everything back in film industry especially. And it's like it's a little unfortunate that this is where we're at. And I wish we could have come to better terms sooner because I enjoy the movies and I enjoy going to the theater. And I feel like we're just about, with everything that's been postponed, we're running out of new material. We're running out of films very quickly, and it's not going to be a fun time to go to the theater because there won't be nothing new to see. And I don't know.
We'll
I
figure
just
it
want
out.
Yeah, yeah. I just want better stories
It'll be
and
fine. Maybe
yeah.
there will be maybe a Darth on. Is that the right word? Did I use a big word?
You
In
did. You
the
hurt. It's too late in the night for you to be hurting my head, or
it's,
early in the morning, I should say.
no, I mean there may be a dry spell in the cinema actually going to the movies. I think there's enough. There's so much stuff. There's so much content. We can't complain about not having enough content. Like that's what I won't complain about.
Yeah.
Now I'll complain about not being able to go to work, sure, but
Right.
because
Exactly.
it is affecting me in that way. But as far as like complaining about content, I'll never do that because there's always enough stuff to watch.
There's
Like
so much stuff
I've
on
got
our
such a
queues and
backlog. I've got a backlog of stuff. I can't believe I've not even watched. Like I don't
right.
feel like I can. I don't know if I can be on your Geek Homeworld podcast because there's some things that I haven't watched. I'm not geek enough because I haven't been able to watch it yet. Like I've not seen Last of Us. Do I get my geek card revoked? I mean, it's like I'm.
No, that was a good one.
and
And
I haven't started Ahsoka, so it's like I things that I need to
Ahsoka,
watch, and it's just like, but there's
I
so much content.
God, there's
I
so
don't think
I want
people.
to talk to you about Ahsoka, but you haven't finished watching it yet, so
No,
you
I
haven't.
think what I usually for stuff like that, I really love to binge. So I
Right.
think the final episode airs on the October 1st. So
Yeah.
I'll probably start binging here in the next week, and I'll work my way through it because I
And
know that.
things haven't been great as being a Star Wars fan. It hasn't been fun to be a Star Wars fan in a while. A
Well,
few bright spots, but Ahsoka just
I loved her episode on The
yeah.
Mandalorian because it was such an homage to Akira Kurosawa and his style. And I'm really hoping that
Yeah.
that style comes through on the show too. It's probably I know it's not every episode, but just throw it in there here and there. We'll see.
They're kind of spoilerish, so I can't really speculate or say anything out of respect for you not having seen it yet. But uh this has felt like more like Star Wars that I know, the prequels and George Lucas Star Wars, what the hardcore community wants to see. And it does help that if you're a Rebels fan going into this show, if you never have watched Rebels, you might be having to look up who is who and what is what, just a little bit. But
Yeah,
um,
and see, like I started to go back and watch. I try like I never watched the Star Wars animated shows,
right. Well,
and
Clone
so
Wars is wonderful. Yeah,
and
it
I
got better.
and it's a daunting challenge. See, again, there's so much content,
There's so much
so
content. Yeah,
if nothing
there's a
else.
lot of homework you have to do before you get to the assignment, right?
Yeah,
And
so it's I
that
don't know. I wasn't familiar with Ahsoka before seeing her on Mandalorian, but that
yeah.
doesn't mean it wasn't cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, and Ahsoka was actually a character when they first introduced her on Clone Wars. People hated her, and they did such a good job develop Filoni and the crew. They did such a good job developing her character that she's become a very beloved part of Star Wars. And there's something that happens in the series that I can't tell you about that for storytelling wise blows it wide open. It opens up to so many possibilities, and you'll see it as you watch the episodes. And by the time you get to like the fifth and sixth episodes, which I think are the strongest, um, it it's pretty amazing. And R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, I think that was his name, who played Balin on there. He does such a wonderful job in his role. So I mean, for that, I guess to be his last thing that he worked on in this life is a good testament to him as an actor. And so, yeah. But Ahsoka, I'm definitely Tuesdays. I can't wait till 9 o'clock, and I love the fact that they dropped it at like 9 p.m. They did that a little differently. Marvel did with on Disney Plus, so you don't have to wait till midnight Eastern time. So I can watch it on a Tuesday when it comes on, in real time, and I don't have to wait until 3 a.m. or whatever time it, drops, when it's East Coast time. So that's a good thing as well. But anyway, I'm getting tired, and that we've made it to the next day. It's now Sunday, September 24th. And I want to thank you, Scott, for taking time out. I wasn't sure, I'm always spontaneous or usually. And I was like, hey, I'm doing a live stream, and you were anxious to jump on here with me. So I appreciate that as always. And
Yeah, no, I'm
yeah,
always happy to talk about movies, of course. So
yeah,
anytime,
of
man.
course. Fantastic. And anyway, so you probably see at the bottom of the screen there, if you want to subscribe to Geek Homeworld on our YouTube channel, you go to youtube.com/@Geek Homeworld 4248. And that's the address there. So like, subscribe, smash the like button, do all those fun things you're supposed to do. And so I'm gonna end the stream here, I guess. And once again, thank you, Scott, for being here. And I guess I'll play the outro music if they can hear it.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, Savage Tech Man. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on iTunes and leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Read our thoughts on the blog. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.
And in stream. Bye.